Hey everybody, today I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about screaming and I want to talk about mixed voice and how those things kind of interplay and how that musculature kind of works off of each other. So, if you're interested in something strange like that, come join me. Don't even look at him, don't open the dialogue, 'cause he'll take a part of you. All right, so kind of got this random idea today because my practice schedule isn't as regular as I'd like it to be, or well, I should say as it should be, because I have the power to change. But um, as I've been kind of getting a little bit back into screaming, if you follow me, you might know that I lost my voice for about 5 years. I quit music, and ironically, upon quitting music, started to lose my singing voice, and then started to kind of lose my speaking voice as well. Still have problems. So screaming is not something I tend to want to do too much. You learn a lot about life when something that you love very much gets taken away. You're not always just like, oh, it works again? Fuck everything. I'm going to go full on balls to the wall. Anyway, as I've gotten back to things or tried to experiment with things, there's another reason why I don't practice that much because it gets tiring and things happen. Anyway, um, I've recognized different sets and groups of muscles that engage and don't engage, and things I didn't notice before. Sometimes before it was just this hodgepodge of today it works and today it doesn't work. And it can get very frustrating. I guarantee you'll deal with that as well, depending on where you are in this journey. But I also want to say before I start talking about this stuff that these are just me talking about concepts that have helped me, and if you want to hear more about these concepts, you can subscribe and hit the notification, all that kind of stuff. That helps me tremendously because I don't get many views anymore, and we have to revive this fucking channel, man. We're in this together. So I also teach extra stuff over on Patreon, so you can join me over there. It's greatly appreciated. Anyway, yeah, my story with this stuff and my approach to this stuff is more on a physical level. As a highly sensitive, autistic type of person, I experience things kind of differently. I notice more and more every day than a lot of my peers and a lot of other people that talk about these things. So I try to explain this information and break it down on a physical level of what I experience. It's not going to be the same across the board for everybody. And a more important thing I should say is that not everybody, you're not going to get one video or one set of information that's going to do all these things for you. Everything is just a little puzzle piece in this, this big kind of puzzle that you're putting together for your voice. So hopefully this will add another puzzle piece to your kick-ass puzzle that you're building. I don't know what it is, what it looks like. Anyway, so I have noticed as I've gotten mixed voice back working better and better, a lot of these things back into play, that I'm really, and you've heard me say this many times, really experimenting with two pretty distinctly different and separate groups of muscles. As you continue to work with them, they tend to gel and work on themselves, work together and seamlessly kind of go like this as you go higher and lower. But most people tend to experience the voice and work on the voice from one set of musculature down here, and maybe a little bit higher when they're getting into distortion and stuff. But um, I noticed that when it comes to screaming, also very much working on two different sets of muscle groups. If you're not, and you're really stuck in just the bottom, you're more prone to hurting your voice, wearing out quickly, and this thing I often talk about, which is singing and distorting, but it's physically arresting. So it gets very tiring. It's kind of like maxing out weight at the gym where you might be able to do it for a little while, but I'm interested in doing things and having longevity and sustainability. So the more you get into music, the more you get into wanting to perform, the more those things kind of become more important because there's a bullshit game we play with ourselves when we're in the studio where we're like, yeah, I totally sang that on that record. I can totally sing like that. And then somewhere in your head, you're like, I don't think I could do that on stage. Or I sang for an hour the other day and then I couldn't hit that note. Things like that. It sucks. Anyway, so we're going to focus on two different vowel sounds today. You probably already know what they are, but we're going to try to go from here to here. Again, da, down here to the chords to here, and then up here to this musculature that engages for the mixed voice thing that I often talk about. Basically, one exists closer to the vocal cords, and one exists up near the pharyngeal kind of soft palate. And they're both compression zones. They're both zones that can hold back the breath and hold back tension, and they can displace tension and move it around different ways. So, first of all, as I already said, if you're kind of focusing your energy and attention, especially when you're screaming down here, it can be more physically arresting, it can be more tiring, and it can be more difficult on the voice. If you can get to a place where you can start experimenting with this top layer that I'm talking about, this other musculature, you're going to find it to be a lot easier. Therefore, you're going to probably be afraid of it at first and feel like you're doing something wrong or feel like it's not heavy or feel like whatever. I want you to try to imagine that it is very much a part of your voice, depending on if you have cord closure and that it feels okay. And the more you work on that and put time and effort into it, the more it will become part of your voice and reveal itself more. Remember, we're kind of dealing with spaces when we find them at first that are very small. They're kind of restricted and small. And then as we learn to relax and open up to them, they start to reveal themselves more, almost like a cavernous space. In terms of the cavern, at first it's it's like this, and then eventually it opens itself up. So, we can use a piano here, but this is all just off the cuff, just me talking about things. This was spawned today from a song that came on when I was at the gym, Holy Diver, the cover that Killswitch Engage did. I do not listen to their music. I don't really know their voice and all that kind of stuff, but it is a good cover. It was done well, and the guy screams in it. And there's two different things that you're going to hear in terms of the screams. And we're going to bring it up so that you can hear it. Anyway, let's start off by doing something like this. Do you know how to do vocal fry? You should. Vocal fry is when the vocal cords are not completely coming together, but they're going like this. When they come together, it's more of a refined, which makes a tone, and that's how we speak to each other. But when they're not, it's the basis of almost all good screams. There's other ways and other things that engage in all that shit. But the basis of most good screams comes from having fry on the bottom. Like that. So, another part of that is that we're holding the breath back. You might have heard plenty of people talk about this. I try to be careful with how I talk about it because I don't want people thinking, I just need to build more strength in my compression and just build strength every day. And it's like, I don't know, man. Go easy with that. But first of all, we're holding the breath back. All of these things, when you're working on them, should be done in a more quiet, controlled manner. I've said this plenty of times, distortion of any kind is almost always quieter than regular clean voice. Why is that? Simple logic. More shit is in the way. If I do any kind of distortion like that, it is quieting the voice. It is dampening. It is coming over top of the voice and quieting it down. Same thing with screams. Sometimes you can tell, but with compression and modern technology, you probably can't. So anyway, if we take vocal fry and we start holding our breath back, I want to try to get into some of these places just by making some sounds like this. Ready? So we're going to go. So we hold our breath. And we focus all that attention right here. It's kind of like a relaxation response mixed with a controlled kind of compression, a controlled kind of thing like that. So we're going, and I'm singing that I'm right next to my bridge. As a baritone, I'm starting to hit a wall, or I almost have already hit it. Now, this is the musculature I'm talking about that exists right down here near the vocal cords. When we are putting all the pressure and we are focusing all of our attention and energy right there, we are basically locking ourselves in a chest voice, and we're building what we vocal teacher people might refer to as a wall. When you are building a wall in the voice, it tends to do this thing that I also don't hear anybody talk about, which ratchets the voice into place. So if this is the chest voice, this is the head voice, and this is whistle voice, which I don't mess with too much. I don't care about singing Mariah Carey songs, even though it is Christmas time. Anyway, we have chest voice here. As these muscles continue to flex and engage and swell, we almost tend to do this, where we're cutting off our bridge, and it becomes harder to access this. Or when we do access this, it's more it's more silly and whatever, because we're so tense down here, and these bigger muscle groups start going like this. I know what we need to do. Fuck, I know what we need to do. And it tends to get harder to get into mix. It tends to get harder to get over to the other place. So one of the things that happens with this, and the reason why I was singing or oh, is because that's the tension thing that we're kind of building around that lower oh. So I'm going to pull up this part of the kill switch engage holy diver thing, where you're going to hear him use these two different spaces. First, you're going to hear and he's going to be quieter because it's more relaxed bass, because it's the lower thing I'm talking about. So not only is the higher one louder because it's more pingy and shiny and bright, but you hear the first one's a little bit more kind of broad and relaxed, and it is based on the O deeper vowel. Oh, down here. Then he's going up here. Now my screams are a little bit different because I'm not warmed up and not ready for this, and I haven't been sitting here for the past 20 minutes, half an hour trying to scream like this. Either way, I wanted to relay the information, and I still can. God damn it! So we have that, and that's the first thing you're hearing there. But that upper tier thing is mixed. It's the same thing as mixed voice. We're utilizing those muscles. So first, once again, if we take this vocal fry sound and we start to push a little bit more air through it, and we start to push into it from the diaphragm, we're going to try to make it louder. So take the same thing. Remember, we're kind of trying to be relaxed and open about it, almost like a yawn. So I hold my breath back. There we have some cool rattling going on. Sounds like a monster, right? Now, some people might, if you're doing this for the first time, might be like, it makes me cough and whatever. Sound like John C. Reilly. Oh, yeah! Oh. Either way, I feel everything from down there, and it starts messing with my voice. That's what you're hearing there. Let's talk about that upper tier so that I don't make the longest video ever. As you experiment with learning how to sing higher and things of that nature, we experience that the resonance needs to move from here to here. We need to allow the resonance, like a thermometer in the body, to move from chest into head. If you're not allowing head voice into the body and you're just, cutting everything off into a wall, then it's going to be much harder for you. So once again, remember that these upper tiers, these nasalities, these Guns N' Roses parts of your voice, oh, yeah, yeah, are not only a part of your voice, but much healthier in terms of your singing. They're allowing your voice to move where it needs to go. And anytime you find yourself singing or practicing and find yourself building these walls, and check in with yourself, can I rise from this note? I don't often find it to be very useful when somebody's like, I can hit this, G4, and I can hit it really well. And then I'm like, can you hit the note right above it? No. Well, with all the information and you being here, like, why would you want to do that? I mean, obviously you're doing something wrong. You're setting your voice up in a weird way, and you're probably going like this to get there, and you're probably, have to belt, or you probably have to use a lot of volume. So get this, dig this, bro. Any note, once you get mixed voice and you kind of get some of these things down, any note within your entire range, you should be able to hit with some level of, difference, loudly or softly. You should be able to push into the note and get it to be louder. You should be able to soften it up, meaning across the entire spectrum, you should not have to get louder and you should not have to get quieter necessarily. So that information, when I learned that like 14 years ago, whatever, was just, blew my mind until I kept hearing people do it. So anyway, another part of this too, is that when you hear people doing screaming, look them up live. Are they doing screams that are just arresting their entire body, where they're going like this and they're bending over and they're pushing every fucking thing they got into it? Or are they standing there having a pleasant experience? Look up Wayne Static from Static X, screaming his fucking ass off through entire sets, barely doing any work, just standing there dancing around with guitar and his crazy hair. God rest his soul. So that should teach you about something. Oh, if I'm doing this and I'm fucking bearing down like crazy, obviously I'm doing something weird. Once again, that weird thing that you're doing means that you need to start putting more attention finding this up here. Now, as we do that, I'm going to try to glaze over this quickly. We're going to try to find that space again. Remember, this is closer to your bridge or past your bridge that you might be finding these things. So I'm going to move up closer to there, and I'm putting all my focus and effort into this space up here. So meaning I'm going to be as pharyngeal as I possibly can. Remember, it might be small, might sound stupid, but we're trying to find a sound that allows us to kind of gel and move up and down. It's not going to be perfect right away, but and we can compress too. If I want to hold back the breath again. I've heard some students recently asking me about, like, can I do this with vocal fry? And it's like, yeah, but we always, want to get back to the point where we're bringing chord closure back together. That was my dog. Hear the difference? So now, even with a little bit of flipping or whatever you hear there, I'm putting all that focus up there. And you can tell that it's much easier for me physically. If you remember what it feels like, or what it looks like to hit these notes from that first location. I'm not just trying to be, ridiculous about this. It really is that physically hard to try to bring up all that energy. Your resonance elevator is getting locked and it's not moving up anymore. So then you have to go make all these terrible faces and body movements. So, now, really quick, because I know this has been long. Let's try to put some extra vocal fry into that and see if we can't start to rattle that space the same way we did before with O, but we're using ah. When I said originally we're using two different sounds, O tends to pull you down here, and ah tends to move you up into this pharyngeal space. If I go, whoops. Tell that I'm releasing into that too, that it's starting to open up and I'm allowing it to open it up so I'm not blocking myself and building a wall. It doesn't sound that pretty, but it's working. If I can play piano. Now, I'll try to make it a little bit louder for you, even though I'm not warmed up. Up here. You can hear that I'm able to push into that, and it's so much more effortless and easy. I hope some of this information helped. Getting into the final throes of the screaming stuff, and what you're hearing here, if we jump back into this really quick, and whatever words he's saying. Once again, you can hear Vision never die. You hear the difference? Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm not going to extend this lesson on the Patreon because I don't have any more things I need to continue to say, but I just wanted to sprinkle this into your daily thinking about voice and stuff and everything. And I also want to answer this question. Somebody asked me recently, how long does it take to get good? And that is a wildly varying question. But let me try to plant some seeds really quick into your mind about that whole thing. Everybody's got a starting place, and everybody with the voice tends to be very attached to it, very emotionally and ego-based. It's such a thing where people get so fearful with it, where they're like, do I have a good voice? And then in that fear, you're not giving yourself time or allowance to grow. And you're not giving yourself time and allowance to be who you are. God forbid, we actually be who we are and somebody doesn't like it. I deal with this shit too. I'm not saying that I'm beyond it. But when it comes to trying to get good, whatever that means, just try to be gentle on yourself. If you're being bananas and going full tilt and trying to be like, I want to scream like this guy and all that kind of stuff, That's fine, but these things can be taken away and you can go too far. And I've had plenty of students that come to me and they fuck their voice up forever because they were just going full fucking, oh, I used to be able to sing like Chester Bennington and now I can't sing anymore. And it's like, Jesus, man, so anyway, the point of it is it's probably going to take you years to really acclimate and learn some of these things and put them into enough practice where it sort of makes sense. And it should. If it didn't, then every motherfuckers would be walking around in the grocery store singing their ass off, and people would be like, "Did you watch the same video that I watched? Holy shit!" So just be gentle on yourself, be gentle in your progress. And the last thing I'll say is that I think this is why I lost my voice. I put a lot of emotional validation energy into my voice. If it was working well one day, I was on top of the world, and if it didn't the other day, the next day I was completely depressed and fucked up. And I recognized that me personally, I was putting so much validation based on having a good voice and being that guy. And then as you know, you continue to move forward in life, you're like, oh yeah, I'm many more things than that. Even though I didn't want to be, I'm a lot more things than that. I have more value to give to the world than just making noises with my head. So remember that too. I hope everybody's doing well, and I will talk to you soon.